Hey, how's it going, everyone? It is CCM Magazine Live. My name is Marcus. Happy Wednesday to you all. It is so good to see you. And this is the show where 3 times a week on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, we are with you talking about Christian music, and we're getting the people that make it in on the fun as well. So, hey, you're here. It's awesome. What I love is when you guys comment, when you hit share. I have this handy dandy little system where I can click your comment, like my own comment right here, where I said, hey, see, and put it right up. So we're watching your comments this whole time. This is your show. We're having fun interacting with you guys. My name is Marcus. I'm your host. And hey, we're kicking this thing off today. We've got Nathan Sheridan. He'll be here in just a second. Some of you guys tuning in might have thought we had Joe Rojas from Seventh Day Slumber here. Well, dude just had to go in the middle of nowhere where his phone wasn't working, and then he's like, "Sorry, man, can't make it work." He goes, "But I got something even better," and he's probably right. He's got a new record label called Burtonwood Records, and he's also got Rockfest Records. He's doing the whole label mogul thing. And one of his signees is Nathan Sheridan, who is with us right now. Guys, throw some questions his way, put some emojis, all this stuff. Welcome, Nathan Sheridan. How's it going, man?
Going really good, man. How are you?
Oh man, so good. Thanks for filling in for your boss. I really appreciate it. And he's been talking you up a long time. So I'm excited to finally get to know you, man.
Yeah, definitely. Joe's awesome, man. I guess he just got in a bad area and couldn't get any cell service. So
We'll
I'm
give him a pass. We'll give him a pass. I know his number. I don't know where he lives, but
I know where he
I
lives.
I know where what city he lives in. So I'll just start knocking on doors. Hey, what is you told me right before we got started that you had like just gotten off stage doing a show. Where are you right now?
I'm actually in Pearl River, Louisiana. So this is actually my hometown. I came back here. Um, I had planned just a couple months ago to come back down and do a youth event. Um, so
Nice.
uh, Doing a youth event in my hometown and just kind of giving back and wanted to speak to some kids and just sow into their life a little bit. So it's been nice.
So in addition to singing, you're speaking as well, or
Well, I'm not, I give my testimony,
yeah,
I give my testimony and, sing and just kind of tell people about my life and, kind of wrap it up, with the gospel a little bit, because just trying to give somebody some meat and let them,
yeah,
kind of hear my story a little bit. So.
yeah. Well, that's cool that you're traveling. You're able to get back to the hometown there. What does a normal day look like for you, Nathan, these days?
Well, these days, if you would have asked me this a week ago, it's working on the record,
Yeah,
So I've been working on a record this past couple months, just doing songwrites and just in the studio, and then also doing shows on top of that. Typical morning this past week has just been really ramping up for to announce this release date. So
yeah.
getting ready to do pre-orders and getting ready to make this big announcement so that we can really push this record so that our hard work can pay off. So, but it's really been a lot of songwriting, a lot of traveling and touring, and a lot of cutting vocals in the studio. So,
A lot of suitcases
oh
and
yeah, for sure,
a lot of meals in bags or large trays, right?
absolutely, yes.
Right on, man. Well, a lot has changed. Talk to me about how we're going to get to your story in a sec, but how's your life changed really in the last year, 6 months
Oh
for you?
wow, it's been unbelievable. A year ago I was living in Hammond, Louisiana, with me and my wife. It was just me and her, and we were just living in an apartment and both working normal jobs. And I was doing music. I was trying to pursue a music career, and I was under management at that time. And I simply, you know, it's almost exactly a year ago, actually. I just made the decision with my wife. My wife was the big pushing point. I'm like, I've built up some relationships in Nashville, and I think I'm just going to go for it. I think I'm just going to move there and make the big move, and let God do His thing. And if it works out, great. And if it doesn't, that's okay too. And I just really wanted to take that chance. I didn't want to, you know, go on not knowing if I could have done it, so I did it. And man, 2 months into moving, I got on a national tour, small town America tour. And
Yeah,
somebody by the, I don't know if it's a good or bad thing for that other person, but by the grace of God, a spot opened up, and I was able to take that spot on the tour, and got to roll on the bus with 7 Day Slumber for a couple months, and get in front of an audience that I would have otherwise never been able to get in front of. And then
amazing.
from there, Joseph had started Burtonwood Records, or really Nashville label group, Rockfest Records and Burtonwood Records. And shortly after that, me and Joe just really hit it off, man. And he really just loved my story, and he loved my music. And he's like, you know what? I think I'm going to sign you. And I was his first signee. And this was just at like the 6th or 7th month mark. Um, and from there, and ever since then, from the time he signed me until now, I've been working on the record with Jeremy Holderfield, producing. So that's really been it, man. I've just been go, go, go. There was really no downtime. And all that from having no real future in the music industry, till now, things can change so quickly. And it's been divinely orchestrated for sure. It's been amazing. So
I love that. That's it's cool how it can feel like a lifetime of waiting, and then bam! I mean,
yeah,
things just fire
it's
off.
it's definitely one of those things you never know, what's going to happen. You just have to keep at it. You have to hold on when everybody else is letting go, kind of deal. So
Yeah. So tell me about your testimony, and really how I mean, it's you've gone through and dealt with a lot in your life, and tell me about really your walk with Jesus, and also this journey in music too.
right. Well, I was just got done speaking to some youth here, and I was telling them, I started off my life as a statistic. I mean, I was born to drug addicted parents who couldn't raise me. We had no money. We were poor, living in a trailer, in the ghetto. And you know I had, I could have easily fallen into that trap, and went on the same path as them. But again, by God's grace, he allowed me to go live with my grandparents. And my mom and dad, basically called them in the middle of the night and said, "Hey, we can't raise them." And so they drove through the middle of the night to come get me, and they arrived at midnight, and came and got me and my sister. And shortly after that, after living with my grandparents full time, my sister ended up passing away. My 8-year-old sister, she passed away from brain cancer, and it was a terminal illness, obviously. That it was a very, very rare form. And so I was basically left as an only child. I was left as an only child, and raised with there's a generation gap between me and my grandparents. So there's always that struggle as well. And, but they raised me. They're wonderful grandparents, and I love them very dearly. But, from there, I just kind of floated through life, not knowing what I was going to do. I wasn't musical by any means. I mean, I wasn't musical at all. And when I say musical at all, I had never sang, I had never played, nothing. I
Wow.
mean, really just not something I did,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden in high school I was 15, and my much older sister, from a different mother, she we didn't grow up together, but she bought me a guitar. She bought me a guitar at 15, and I piddled around with it a little bit and didn't really get serious about it, but after I think 16 or 17, I started like learning chords, and I think it was 16, yeah, I started learning chords, and started really getting a little bit more into it. And we started a youth band at my church, and
Oh, wow.
we played some church camps, and I figured out I could sing. Never knew I could sing, and then it kind of just like took some encouragement from people like, "Hey, man, I think you can sing." So it was like one of those things like, "Hey, man, I think you got it." So through that encouragement, it really just kind of propelled me. And but I still never saw music as a viable option for like a career path by any means.
Yeah.
So after all was said and done, all of us
Mhm.
were graduating high school, and we were all going in our separate paths, me and the band. And I went, they went to college, and I went into the military. So I didn't know what I wanted to do.
Right.
So I joined the military, and signed up. It was the Army National Guard, and I signed for a 6-year contract. And went in immediately. Basically, after signing, my grandparents actually had to sign for me because I was 17. So 17, I went in and did my basic, did my AIT. And the deal was it was supposed to be 1 week in a month and 2 weeks in the summer drilling. That was going to be the thing, and I could go to college. And I'm like, yeah, I can go to college, and I can, because I couldn't get a scholarship. I wasn't, I didn't have the grades or anything. So I was like, that was my reason for going. I was like, I'm going to go to college. And then sure enough, as soon as I got back, I was received to my unit, and he said, we're deploying in like 6 months.
Wow.
All my dreams kind of got shattered at that moment. Just like, I had a new girlfriend at the time, my now wife, Harley.
Yeah.
I had a new girl. I was looking forward to spending time with her, and all my dreams were kind of just thrown out the window. And but that's kind of the way God's been working my whole life. Is it's been His plan, not mine really. But went overseas, and I was a signal support specialist, and I thought I was just going there to do signal work on radios, and do radio communications and networking and whatnot. And ended up being the worship leader in the local chapel on base. They had an
Yeah.
opening, and I just hopped into their feet first, man. And I told the chaplains who were officers, I'm like, hey, man, I think I could do this. Let's get a team together and let's do it. And man, we just saw. I got some really great players around me. I mean, it's shocking how many amazing musicians there are in the military. I had a full bird colonel, which is one step away from a 1 star. He was an older
Okay.
gentleman who played keys for me, and he was beyond good. I mean, so good. And we got this thing going, and we just saw attendance just explode at this church
Wow.
in the middle of Kuwait. It was amazing. And
That's incredible.
yeah, and from there, that's where I really cut my teeth, and really almost the rest is history. I came home and I cut a record, got a management deal out of it, cut an EP, and then got signed to a label shortly after my EP and moving to Nashville.
So rewind for a second. What is how would you say the worship experience at chapel in the military is different than what we know of church on a Sunday morning? Like, is it pretty similar, or are there things about it that are that you just wouldn't
Well,
experience on a Sunday morning?
there's always that, in the military, everything is, we're constantly being, reverent to our superiors, and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So we're constantly in that mode of, if you see an officer pass by, you salute and you say, yes, sir, no, sir, yes, sergeant,
Yeah.
no, sergeant. There's always that thing. But the thing with, being in the chapel is we always encourage people to kind of help try and break down those walls, of like, hey, this is I hate to say safe space, but that's really what it was. It was a safe space, for
Yeah.
people to kind of just like share and just be normal for a second,
Sure.
which was funny. It's hard for people to just be normal for a second. It was really
Yeah.
hard to get people to do that. And sometimes it could feel a little tense, but that what was so great about the worship is that it really broke down a lot of those walls. It really broke a lot of that down. And so that we could feel like, hey, we're back at home. This is worship. This is about, you having an intimate relationship with Christ. This is
Yeah.
about, you giving your worship to Him. This isn't about the officer or the sergeant next to you. This isn't about what you have to do, back at your job or anything. This isn't about back home. This is about you, and your spiritual health. So it was really, it was a big, almost, I hate to say learning curve. I mean, that's kind of what it was, though. It was almost like the soldiers really had to learn that they could just be who they are,
Yeah.
there. So that was really what was kind of interesting about it. And but hey, through the worship and through the testimonies of the pastors and stuff like that, we saw like it was almost normal, there for a little while.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
like, hey, this is a really cool place to be, so
I mean, worship leaders in general have to deal with what people bring in, and okay, drop pretense and drop, what expectations and things like that in order to worship God. I mean, this is a whole nother level of that. So it's like,
right.
in a sense, it's like worship leaders boot camp, right? I mean,
Right.
like,
Yeah, for sure it was. I mean, it was definitely some because there was still that like military spin to it. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Nothing's completely normal in the military. And there's different. There's a lot of red tape with a lot of different things.
sure,
So it was, and things had to be done a certain way. There was a certain way things had to be done at the chapel, so that we could accommodate all the soldiers because there's not. And I mean, even with the chaplains, and even with the worship leaders, you have to meet the needs of people who aren't even Christians. People who may be another religion. That's something that the military, they're very strict about.
Right.
It's meeting the needs of everybody. But even when I would encounter people who were of another faith, such as Muslim or Buddhist or something like that, it was still that nice opportunity to be able to share Christ with them even through it. So
Yeah.
it's definitely different. That's all I can really say about it is it's different, and it's not like being at a regular church, but it really, I think it's, I mean, I don't want to say it's harder, but it's just a different way of doing things, and it really helped me cut my teeth. And now when I go into just a normal church, and play, it's a lot easier, and
Yeah.
it's a lot,
Oh,
it's
I'm
definitely
sure.
like wow, and I still have to remind myself sometimes that this is just with doing anything really from being in the military. I'm out now. I've only been out a year. With doing anything, sometimes I have to remind myself that this is just normal life. This isn't military. So it's
Yeah.
it's it's been odd, but fun at the same time.
Oh, absolutely. Well, you say in your bio that even despite all these musical experiences you had, you were reluctant to record or even say you were going to pursue music. What made the change for you?
Um, the biggest thing for me was that I grew up my whole life. My grandfather, he worked with his hands. He worked with his hands. He was a laborer, and so was my grandmother. My grandmother, she was a stay-at-home spouse for a while, and also she worked in a daycare. And she just that was what I always viewed as a job.
Yeah.
And I never thought. I always thought worship leading was amazing. I loved playing music. I knew that, but I'm like, you can't make any money at this. You can't make a living doing this. I mean, this is just something that God has me doing on the side. It's never going to be something that is going to be a full time thing.
Yeah.
And then just I think encouragement from others is really what it took. Is my friend Luke? He just got out of school, and he was an audio engineer. He was doing audio engineering, and he wanted to dabble in production, and he said, "Man, I really, really want you to come into the studio." He's like, "And I'll do it for free." So
Wow.
he did it for free, and we cut an acoustic record. And man, it wasn't something that I wanted to do at first because I was nervous about it and I didn't think it would go anywhere. And also, a big thing about it is I had to put myself out there. That means starting a website and starting social media and showing people, "Hey, I have
Right.
music. Look, look at me, look at me." It's it's
Yeah.
it's it's not something that I was used to. But through that encouragement and stuff like that, and I saw like, hey, I think I can do this, and it became easier and easier. So
Wow. Well, I mean, and sometimes you've got to have those other people around you,
for sure.
and also giving you permission to be like, no, we know, we'll make sure it's not all about you. Like you still got to
Right,
do all of your social media stuff, but we're gonna make sure you're in
right,
check. That's why it's good to have. I mean, you've
yeah,
got some great people around you with Joseph Rojas and someone else. That's another person with a pretty radical testimony of being
absolutely.
brought out of a dark situation. What has his mentorship meant to you?
Oh man, I mean, it's been the game changer. I mean, it's the only reason why I'm even close to doing what I'm doing right now. I mean,
Yeah.
Jeremy Holderfield, he's also been mentoring me. They're both in the same band, Jeremy Holderfield and Joseph
Right.
Rojas, Seventh Day Slumber, and Jeremy's where I really kind of got my start with like professional recording. But once I finally got to know Joseph, um, man, he really just once he heard my story, he really just took me under his wing, and was like, man, I think this kid's got what it takes. And it was so perfect the way that it lined up, how he was just starting his label,
Yeah.
and how he was ready to like sign artists. He was ready to do this for real. And man, he has taught me things that I could have never searched on Google, that I could have
Yeah.
never, I could have never found, people say you don't need a label, you don't need all this, you don't need all that. It's easy to be an independent musician. Man, it's hard being an independent musician. And
Yeah.
really just by having people like Joseph around me, just having them around me, has been a huge, not only is it just a source of encouragement, like a constant source, because you see
Yeah.
their success and you see that this is possible, but also they really get down and they tell you how to do things and the
Hmm.
right way to do them, and they kind of show you what they did during their path and what worked and what didn't,
Yeah.
and it
It's nice.
keeps you from making a lot of mistakes that you would have made. There's a lot of mistakes I've avoided because I listened to Joseph, because I
Yeah.
listened to Jeremy. So it's been a game changer, and I definitely wouldn't be where I am right now without, that type of,
Yeah.
mentorship. So
Well, that's awesome. And now you're you started out as buddies, and then uh, because you're on tour together, and now you're making a record, and it's called Broken with You. That's the title.
yes, it's going to be called Broken with You. It's not officially, I haven't officially announced the release yet, release date, but that is the album title, and it's going to
Will
be.
it be this year? Will it be this year?
Oh yeah, yes, it'll be very soon. It's going to be a lot sooner than that. So it's going to be, let's just say before Thanksgiving. So
Okay, nice. Well, I love that title, especially given your story. Talk about that title and really what it means to you, why you arrived at that one.
Broken with You. Well, going back to the mentorship under Joseph, that was really his favorite song that I had written, and it really brought him a lot of encouragement. So we talked about that song a lot, and what it meant to him and what it meant to me. This whole song is really about my childhood and growing up, and even into adulthood, how much I really just couldn't. I really hated my mother, and I hated my father for the things that they had done, to me and my sister, and really the things they had done to my family, and how they had never apologized for it. They never asked for our forgiveness, nothing like that. And it was basically kind of a come to terms song with that, and because what they had done to me, what they had done to my family, the things I had seen and experienced, it really caused me not to be able to trust anyone. And even at times, that's kind of spilled over into my relationship with God. How sometimes I couldn't even trust God. I didn't have faith in Him, because I had just been hurt so many times,
Yeah.
so many bad things that happened to me. And like, my story definitely comes with, if I could tell you everything, I mean, it definitely comes with its ups and downs,
Yeah.
and a lot of downs, a lot of those downs have really just, broken me at times. And, and not just with music, but that song is a really personal song, just about my relationship, with my mother, especially my mother. And, basically the song just talks about, hey, how, that it's time to heal, that it's
Yeah.
time to heal from those things. It's time to let the past go. It's time to trust God again,
Yeah.
and even, and it's okay to be broken. It's okay to be broken at times, but you have to have that relationship with Christ. You have to have that relationship with God. He can pull you out of that brokenness. But even through, your brokenness, He's never left your side. He's still faithful. He's still a provider. And basically the summary of the song is like, uh, you know, even though you're broken, at least you're broken with Him. Being broken is
Mm.
worse than not, you can be broken and not have Him, which is
Yeah.
worse.
Right.
So
Yeah.
at least I was broken with Him through it all. And, that whole song is just a song, really, it's about trusting, it's about forgiveness. It's like a conglomerate of many things. And,
Yeah.
really just personal song that has helped me heal, throughout a lot of things. So.
Well, welcome to a surge of people that have suddenly entered, and I'm reading your comments. Looks William here says God is going to use Nathan to do amazing things. That's awesome, and lots of people saying hi and they love your heart and what you're about. How does songwriting about all of this? How does it minister to you, and how have you heard it that it's ministered to others?
Well, just I'm assuming you mean like how has my songwriting kind of like, is it like a process for me? Is it like
Like a
ministering to me?
therapy, like
Yeah,
yeah, because I mean you're processing this stuff musically and lyrically in a new way.
yeah, that's been several songs in this album. I think, full disclosure, I think with this album I only co-wrote. There's 11 songs in the album. I think I only co-wrote three or four of them. I can't really
Yeah,
remember off my head. And the rest I was just writing. Myself. I was just writing in my bedroom late at night,
yeah,
and I would turn that light back on. Sorry, but anyways, I got other people in the house, but it was a big therapy for me for sure because there's so many things that I had been through that I needed to, heal from, things that I didn't even realize. See, what the catcher is, I didn't even realize that I needed to heal from them, and that's really, if you really search deep down and you think about, because full disclosure, there would be times where I would be so angry with myself, so angry at other people. I would yell. I mean, I hate to even admit this. I would yell at my wife. I would, and say things to her that I didn't mean. And
yeah,
thank God and I write about that too. But, thank God she's so gracious and patient with me. But, you know, in looking back, it's all because of what had happened before. You know,
Right.
it was all because of that. So it's really like this whole album has just been, and you know, it kind of dives into different subjects that aren't necessarily personal, but a lot
Yeah.
of these songs have just been very therapeutical for me, and they are about, you know, my life. They're my story.
Yeah.
But the thing is, you know, just because it's my story, it's not just my story. It's the story of so many other people. So many other people are going through the same exact thing right now. You know, I
Right.
mean, I am not, my story is almost nothing, you know, compared to the stories that I've heard of other people. You know, my story sounds great. And there's so many people who would love to have my life and my
Mhm.
story, you know. So even, but, you know, having these songs that are very, you know, that, you know, I'm very vulnerable in, that I'm really putting out the truth out there about my life, those relate to people. And it's really hard to reach people with the gospel. It's really hard to reach people, you know, and tell them, hey, there's a savior, there's a God that can take away all your pain. It's hard to reach those people whenever they can't relate to you.
Right.
You know, whenever
Yeah.
they, you know, it's one thing for, I mean, no offense to anybody's story or anything, you know, but it was a lot harder for somebody who I knew grew up and had a great life and never really had any issues. It was hard to talk to that person,
Yeah.
you know,
Right.
especially about Christ, because it's like, yeah, man, I hear what you're saying, but you don't know anything about me. And you
Yeah.
know, in a way, you know, it's not the greatest mindset to have, but it's just the truth of the matter, you
Yeah.
know. And that's really what I've just strived for, is like, I'm going to write songs and I'm going to be vulnerable. I'm going to share my story, and throughout that process, it's going to minister to others because I know other people can relate to this story. I know it. So that's really what, you
And
know,
you're
the whole
finding, I
song.
mean, and you're finding that, I would
Yeah.
imagine, as you're sharing these songs, and even at the beginning of this, because I mean the album's not even out yet. Describe, just before I get to some of these comments, because you guys are leaving some good ones. Um, Describe your sound and your musical palette for those who haven't heard you.
Man, I'm really a diverse character, man. I really love to keep things fresh. I don't really like to approach I don't like to make a theme album, you know, as they would call it, or maybe it's called a concept album. You know,
Yeah,
I wanted to just show off what, you know, I really love, you know. And I love vintage funk, man. I like CCM pop, and I like
yeah,
indie folk. Like, you know, I love all those things. Broken with You is to me personally, it's a folkish song. You know, and I have another song in there called Again that's a folkish song. And but the first two songs in the album are very funk derived, you know,
yeah.
and they're very like vintage. Like, this is, you're gonna be like, wow, I didn't think that was. I didn't think that that's what he was really into. But I love all different styles, you know,
Sweet.
and that's really just me. I think my voice kind of ties things in together, I'd assume. But you know, there really isn't just one thing that I'm doing on this album, and I don't plan to ever just do one thing. So maybe the inconsistency will kind of become my musical palette. Is like, hey, you don't know what to expect. You know,
I love
expect one.
that.
Yeah.
Man, that's awesome. No cookie cutters here, and I know that
Yeah.
I'm sure Joe is very passionate about staying away from the cookie cutter anything. Just
For sure.
follow the artistry. I'm sure he's a good
Yeah.
cheerleader that way.
Absolutely, he's definitely been a champion. That's what's been so great about it. Is he's just been a real champion of me, and he knows that he's been letting me write a lot of the songs I want to write and release a lot of the music I want to
Yeah.
release. And through his, you know, he listens to the songs and he can give me guidance, you know, and which has been great. So
Do I hear a cat? Is that what I'm hearing? Is it a
I think
cat?
try to find this cat.
I know we got to find the cat. So speaking of animals, first question is my one of our biggest fans on the show, which is my mom. She asks everybody, "Do you have a dog?"
I do have a dog.
There you
Her
go,
name is
mom.
her name is Tidbit, and she is a Chiweenie.
I have a Chiweenie.
Yeah. Hey, man, the Chiweenie
Yes,
brothers.
that's the best. I mean, that's the most manly way we could say it, is that we're Chiweenie brothers. But dude, it's the best dog because it's cat sized.
My kitten here.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, my dog's about that big.
But yeah, I do have a dog, and she's been with us for about 3 years now. We got her from a puppy, and she is the sweetest. So I love her very much.
All right, Luke, he already answered your question in case you didn't hear it. He said, when is the new album coming out? He said before Thanksgiving. So fall is what that means.
Hey,
And
just all I'm saying is, within a week or two, there's going to be
Some
I don't know.
news.
There's going to be some news. Okay,
Yes. All
you're going to
right.
look,
All right.
be keeping tabs.
Awesome. Raven says the best testimonies come from pain and overcoming with God's help. God does not love in pieces. That's right, Raven.
Right.
A lot of people are loving what you're saying. They're saying truth. They're saying, yeah. It looks like, oh, Sherry said, "I want to see your dog," but I don't. He's not at home. Your dog's not here.
Home. I'm in someone else's home right now. I'm actually in Louisiana, so my dog's back in Tennessee.
So there you go. You saw a cat instead. So, well, finally, how can we be praying for you while we're all here and hearing from you and with the album coming out, everything? How can we be praying?
Oh man, you could pray for me. I mean, just pray for me personally that I, stay in good health and that I can keep
Yeah.
this train going. But I've been very, very busy, and just pray for that I can keep a clear mind and keep a clear vision. But man, just more than anything, just pray for this album, that it does what it needs to do, that it reaches the people it needs to reach. Because I mean, it's not just my dream, but I really believe it's God's will for this music to reach people and to encourage them and to touch their life. So just be praying for that. And also, it's already been announced, so I can say this. Small town worship tour is going to be starting August 31st, I think, is the first date, and we're going to be doing 30 to 40 dates, I hope. So we're still booking
Awesome.
for it, but hey, there's going to be a lot of road time, and definitely be praying for safe travels and be praying that people are ministered to and that lives are saved and all that stuff. So just be in prayer about that.
Well, let's do it while we're here, guys. If you're praying now, praying later, it all works the same. So let's just do this right now. Lord, we just thank you so much for Nathan. Thank you for the path that you've laid out before him, the path that you've walked with him on throughout this life, and ups and downs. You are there, Lord, and we thank you that when we are broken, we can be broken with you. Lord, I just pray that message and that the testimony, that the transparency and realness of Nathan's own story goes and helps others. That others would be drawn into a deeper relationship with you, or a first time relationship with you, Lord. We just pray for all of the details and craziness and time management and energy expelled leading up to this album and the tour afterward. God, we just ask that you would be the strength that Nathan and the team need. And so we thank you for what's coming. Just like Scott here in his comment says, big things are coming, Lord, because you're at the helm. So we pray all this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. And Cindy says, congratulations on all your success, praying for you. And Terry is excited. Small town worship is going to be amazing. Is there a website for that tour, as far as you know?
I don't believe there's a website for it. There may be a worship page, but if you go on Seventh Day Slumber's website, they're the headliners, you'll be able to see all the dates so far. And also, you can go to my website here in a couple of days, and it's going to have all the dates available. So,
all right, you heard the man. So check it out and keep your antennae up for Nathan's album, Broken With You, coming this fall, but you'll hear more soon. So I'm sure we'll be on it at CCM Magazine. So stay tuned.
I hope so.
Right.
Got to hook me up, man.
You bet, man. And you're always welcome back. You got to bring the Chewini.
We'll do.
It's got to happen. All right, man. Thanks so much. God bless.
God bless, man.
All right. Well, that's what we got today. It was awesome. And big thanks to Nathan Sheridan for showing up really kind of last minute because Joe Rowe lost his cell signal. And thanks to Joe for getting him on here. Great guy. You'll have to check his stuff out. Hey, if you've missed an episode of this, you can go to ccmmagazine.com and click on the Live with Marcus tab. You can watch all of the episodes. You can also go on to iTunes and look under podcasts. If you search for CCM, you will find this as an audio podcast. So tomorrow is super exciting. I could not be more excited for what tomorrow's going to be. We got KB from Reach Records, Lecrae's Reach Records. He's going to be at a water park here in town. in Boise, Idaho. We're going to go see him at the water park. He's going to be doing a show there tomorrow night. I hope you'll be there. I will be there. And from all of us here at CCM Magazine, we'll see you next time. Thanks.